Hello, Cousin Johnny here. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the Buzzin' with Cousins show. We thank you. Thank you, that garlic stuff. If you like garlic, you're going to love it. Put it on just about anything. That garlic stuff. Tuesday, Alvarado Farmers Market, or go to thatgarlicstuff.com. Thank you. Thank you, Art. I Heart You Candles, located right in front of Fisherman's Wharf. Beautiful hand poured candles. These are very inspirational candles. Call Sherry at 574-9446, right in front of Fisherman's Wharf. They're great. Thank you, Max Fit Meals, 520 Fremont Street. Grab and go healthy meals. They're delish. On your way from home from work, go grab some, heat them up, and fantastic. Thank you, Suds Cyber Laundry, 709 Lighthouse, Pacific Grove. Great modern machines, big screen TV, coffee, and a great friendly staff. Thank you, Suds. Thank you, the Whiskey Club, 425 Alvarado Street. Over 400 whiskeys to choose from. Go in, relax, have a drink. They have a bottle shop. They have room for special events. The Whiskey Club, thank you. Thank you, storyteller, author, and all around good guy, Tony Albano. Tony has written 3 books, the latest being Cherish, about a New York teenager and a nun find love. Thank you, Tony. And if you want to order the book or find out more about Tony, go to Tony, Tony, Albano, Albano, storyteller.com. Check it out. Thank you. Thank you, sponsors, for the Buzzin' with Cousins show. We thank you. Hello, how's everybody doing out there? Cousin Johnny here with another show. I'm here with a friend of mine. She's an artist, Cyndy Davis. Cyndy, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Johnny, especially because you're here.
Thank you for inviting me to your beautiful home and studio. So, Cyndy, where are you from and how'd you end up in Monterey?
Well, I from all over the world. I grew up all over the world, that is. And I wound up in Monterey because that was the place my husband and I chose to be. But I first started coming here when I was a keen diver. And this is where I learned to dive. And ultimately, this is where we wanted to live.
Wow, you're a diver.
I was.
The more I talk to you, the more stuff I find out about what you do. It's really great. Okay, so Cyndy, we had a conversation the other day about your art. Now, when I was in maybe high school, I bought an album by Rod Stewart. It's called Every Picture Tells a Story. It's an album. It's really good. It's got Maggie May and all those songs on there. But your art is, every painting has a story.
And, that's right, Johnny.
And your paintings, every painting has got a story. So, Cyndy, can you kind of show us around and explain some of your great art here?
I would love to tell you my stories. I think that I'm somewhat of an introvert.
Yes.
So I think my paintings are my way to speak out. And I believe all paintings have some sort of story anyway, but that's what I particularly want to do, is to tell a story in my paintings. I'm a storyteller.
And now you incorporate that, you do a lot of traveling. So
correct.
You'll travel somewhere, for example, and maybe find a endangered animal, and you paint about that particular animal. For
That's
example,
right.
there's a lion there. Can you explain that?
So this is a series that I've been working on for several years, and I'm going to continue on this series. And it's called my Defaunation series. So these are animals that I have met traveling, and that I wanted to point out the importance of the animals and how we have a patchwork of policies to help the animals, but it's not consistent internationally. So therefore, I took my raw canvas and I sewed it together
Okay.
to be symbolic of that patchwork of policies. And you can see in the paintings that there's seams in the canvas. But
Okay.
the animals themselves are also the negative space, are human figures. And that is trying to make the statement of how we as humans are encroaching onto their territories. I'm
Yes.
not trying to make it a negative, it's just the way it is.
The way it is. Yeah.
And these are animals from, they'll be an endless series because as I travel, I'll meet more animals. So it might be the bison of North Dakota, it might be the penguins of the Antarctic,
Oh,
or the
wow.
polar bears of the Arctic, or the lions of Botswana, it, or the otters of Monterey. So the
Yes.
series continues as I find animals that I want to make the story or the statement about.
Okay.
I have a bit of a nod to my, I don't come from a family of painters. I come
Yes.
from a family of sewers. And so the idea of sewing my canvases together was to give a nod to my ancestors, my mother, my grandmother, my great
Beautiful.
grandmother.
Beautiful.
So that is what inspired the sewing part, but then
Yes.
it fit with my idea of a patchwork of
That
policies.
is really great. Yeah. So let's go through some of these paintings. So you've got a lion. What's his story?
Well, what's interesting, the lioness was, we went on 45 safaris.
Wow.
And with this particular lioness, she had her cubs with her. And when she was very close to our Jeep, but an airplane went over and she stopped, and all three of them looked up at the airplane. And so it really struck me how we are in her territory.
Yes.
We're in her home, and she's aware of our presence, but she is, you might say, the queen of that area.
Yeah.
We're her guest.
You're our guest. That was great that you painted her. And then we've got
The
what
penguin
is
is
a
a chin
penguin?
strap penguin. I went to the Antarctic to see penguins, and I saw lots and lots of different types of penguins. And so it's very much being affected by our global warming and
Yes.
their environment, and how they're having to make changes to accommodate that. And then the next one is the polar bear, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
my most recent. I just did that this year. We went to the Arctic, and of course, I wanted to see the polar bear, and I was very fortunate to really get a good viewing of the polar bear and her two teenage cubs. They
Oh,
were they
perfect.
were big boys with her, but it was exciting to see that, and saw lots of polar bear from the distance, but this one was pretty close. And again, we're in her home,
She looks great. Yeah.
we're the guest in her territory, which is very different from like a zoo,
Yes.
that you feel honored to be in their presence, but you're also in awe and being careful because we are um, we are not her invited guest.
Yeah.
The next one is a leopard, and
Okay.
again, the leopard was in the African safaris that I went on. very wonderful when you
I
sight
love
them. They're a little bit harder to find.
those eyes are something else.
And when you have really good trackers, the trackers are able to find them. And the next one is a rhino, which is also from the African safaris. That was the second one that I did in this series.
Yeah.
And one of the things you'll notice in my painting style that I use lots of color.
Yes.
That I wanted the animals to be brilliant and to be really the focus of the painting.
Yeah, they are.
And then, of course, the wonderful otters. And
yes,
our
otters.
local otters that at one time we thought they had disappeared. And fortunately, the colonies were discovered in the Big Sur area. And so they've made a comeback. And now we're privileged to get to see them more often.
Is this one from Monterey?
Yes, definitely a Monterey otter.
Good.
And then the next one is the bison.
I think that's one of my favorites right here.
I really like it too, and it's exciting to be inside a whole herd of bison. When my dog and I took an RV trip through North Dakota, and if you go really slowly, the herd just surrounds you, and to have them that close and to be part of that is just...
They kind of like for protection, they surround you?
I think they just are not... They just don't care about you. So, you know that you are, they know they're bigger than you are.
A welcoming committee, yeah.
Yeah, they just aren't concerned. And if you're quiet and you go into their territory, they just let you in.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want to be outside the RV.
No. Okay, so now you have more people here, and you got this beautiful lady. We
are looking at my travel series, and I started this series from my travel sketchbooks. That I have these composite pen and ink drawings in my books, and I decided to do the same technique in paintings.
Okay.
So each one of these are places that I've been, and the commonalities behind them is that the thread that's consistent is that I try to make an ancient connection to ancient arts to the present. I have common things that you can notice that I'm usually trying to acknowledge the nature or wildlife or birds or whatever. People where I've been, people that I've met that have made an impression on me.
That's really great. Yeah,
so your first one you're looking at is the south of Spain. So sometimes it's not necessarily a country, but a region.
Yeah, okay.
And in this one, of course, the Passion of the Flamenco Dancer. But then Picasso was born in that area. And then the petroglyphs and the pictographs that I've etched into the sky there. And then, of course, the tile work that Spain is so known for.
Oh, that's really a great painting. I like the dress and the outfit.
I took Spanish dancing when I was a little girl. And my dress was polka dot. So that was why it became that polka dot. And textile designs will find its way in my paintings too. Okay. The next one is Easter Island. Okay. And what you're looking at is a woman that I talked to and visited with, and she made an impression. But then the wildlife, the bird, the hawk, the sea, the hibiscus, there's all kinds of patterns involved in that painting too, and of course what they are very famous for, those magnificent statues that etch the horizons. Then the next one is Cambodia. So you're looking at, this is called Land of Temples. And it's the impression, the vividness, the heat, the canals, the rivers.
See a beautiful background, yeah.
The little girl was guiding her canoe. I knew she would find her way into my paintings, but then the strangler leaf type of trees that sort of encase buildings, and then the statues that are centuries and centuries old, and Angkor Wat in the distance. and the acknowledgement of the killing fields that happened there. The next one is Tibet.
Oh yeah, okay, Tibet. Yeah.
And of course, we've got the Buddhism, and we've got the Buddhist monk that made such an impression on me. He seemed to me bigger than life. And of course, this is a place where they often go for pilgrimage, but it's like a place where time forgot, but then in the robes, they always have a cell phone. So it's that mix of what was old and forever to what is now.
Oh, this is really fantastic.
The next one is specifically the Rift Valley.
Oh, you got the giraffe.
And located in Kenya. And that really made the impression on me because my husband is a science teacher. He often talks about human evolution. He talks about the Rift Valley as being our almost our birthing place of humans. And then I got to see the Turkana boy, which is the skeleton there, and the figure on the right is what the Turkana boy was, what they think he would have looked like. And then the central figure, which is this beautiful, it's the wife of the Maasai chief that I got to visit and talk with. So she found her way in this painting because it's so fitting for it. And as we turn the corner, you're going into China now.
Okay, we're in China.
And there's lots of things that are involved in this painting. That swirling figure with the ribbon dancing. In the parks in China, they often do exercises and things like that. And so I wanted, when I saw her, she was just dancing on her own. And I knew she would be part of a painting. But I'm also acknowledging I've never been anywhere where there was so many people. And so if you notice, there's that just crowds and crowds of people.
I see the crowds behind the lady, yeah.
And what was often described to us, oh, we're visiting a small town today. There's only 30 million people.
Yeah.
And it's just mind-boggling. But of course, the Great Wall of China and the terracotta soldiers that I got to see, and seeing the big posters of Mao Zedong and so forth. The next one is actually a region, Southwest United States, but specifically Utah. And I wanted the arches, the formations, that Mesa Verde area, the petroglyphs and the pictographs that I saw there. The figure there was a pictograph that I saw in a cave, and so she became part of that central figure there. And then the raven down the bottom right hand corner, I was actually doing a small painting, and the raven came and sat right roosted almost right next to me and just watched me paint.
Oh, all right.
Not while I was doing this painting, but a small one.
You got a fan.
I do, a raven fan.
Yeah.
And then this is the painting I've done this year. It's called Land of Castles. We just came back from a fabulous trip to Eastern Europe and the eastern side of Italy.
Beautiful.
And of course, wherever you travel, there's the castles.
Yes.
And so this isn't really a specific country, but it is through that whole swath of Europe with all the castles that were used for defense and war and so forth. And so that's what this painting became.
Really beautiful.
So there's a lot of little things in there to find, little tidbits that you might not have realized until you look at it carefully.
Okay, we're moving it down here now.
We have a couple of smaller paintings that those are just inspirations from travels. The top one is from Portugal with the fado singer and the dancer. And then the bottom one is a man in Morocco that when I saw him, I knew I wanted to do a painting that all artists sometime or another want to do a painting of all white, and how do you handle a painting that's all white?
Yeah.
And so he was my homage to the painting in white. And then the last painting you're looking at is, yes, is the Land of Ice. And this is still a work in progress.
Okay.
It's an interesting painting to do because the Antarctic is not owned by any country, so it does not have the human cultural aspects that the other places do. But what it does have is it has the golden age of exploration, and you can see the faint figure of the explorer and how that region has been conquered, has tried to be conquered. It's one of those most extreme environments.
Yes.
And of course, when you go there, you go there for the seals, but then it turns out to be way more than just animals.
Yeah.
As in all of them, the icebergs, the color of ice, but drawing the attention to the krill.
The krill, yes.
One of the most important things was the how the krill is sort of the basis of our whole ecosystem. If the krill becomes endangered or lost, probably, and then that whole chain, food chain, will fall too. So keeping the krill healthy and happy we're all dependent on it, whether you're the fur seals or the penguins or us humans.
I think the krill's instrumental here in our waters here in Monterey Bay.
Yes.
Well, this is really, Cyndy, this is really fascinating, and I just love the way you incorporate a story with your art, and this is fantastic. Cyndy, I really appreciate you inviting me here and showing me your beautiful studio and paintings, and I really appreciate it. And I'm going to let you go. I think you've got an event today, so I'm going to let you go and get ready for that event. So Cyndy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Johnny.
Cousin Johnny out. And Cyndy, we will see you on the pickleball court.
You got it.
Goodbye, everyone.